UFC 326 Holloway versus Oliveira 2 is this weekend, and I'm going to go through the entire card from the bottom all the way to the top, give my predictions and what I expect from each fight on this card. And this card I am super excited to get into because obviously of the main event. But first, we've got the rest of the card to get through. And starting the night off, we have debuting Luke Fernandez versus Rodolfo Bellato. This one I am going to go with Luke Fernandez. I don't know much about him. He is a big question mark to me, but Rodolfo Bellato is not a question mark, and I think especially in his last few fights, his performances have not been good from the no contest with Paul Craig, and his loss, who did he lose to? And his loss in his last fight, and he's just not looked great. I think Luke Fernandez will come in and beat Rodolfo Bellato. Hopefully, Luke Fernandez looks good, but I'm kind of just betting on random chance here because I don't know too much about him. And yeah, I just don't have too much confidence in Rodolfo Bellato. Then we move on to Jung Young Lee versus Gaston Bolanos. This fight I was going back and forth between them, but I am leaning more towards Jung Young Lee because I think his grappling can work in this fight. I think he's gonna be able to do a little bit. Now, obviously, I could be wrong, but these two, it looks like Gaston is moving up in weight, and Jung Young Lee will be the bigger person, which I think is a big advantage for him in this fight. And I think just the record of 8-5 for Gaston Blanos is not great, and Jung Young Lee I think will be able to use some of his size, get to a place for a submission, and submit Gaston Bolanos in. I'm thinking either the second or third round, but I don't know too much about Bolanos. I do recognize Jung Young Lee, and I think he will be able to do decent. I've got a weird feeling about a submission, though. About a submission. Whoa, crazy voice crack. Then we move up to Rafael Tobias versus Dayar Nurgaze. Okay, sorry, but Rafael Tobias debuting in the UFC. Dayar he has fought, I believe, 2 times in the UFC, and I think they might have both been losses. But I am going with Rafael Tobias. I think from what I have seen, I did a little research on this fight because I'd never heard of him before, and he seems pretty dangerous. He seems like he'll be able to get the job done. Nergaze could get this one, and I could just be dead wrong. But I don't know if he's super UFC caliber. If I'm right in that he's lost both of his UFC fights, and so yeah, I think Rafael Tobias will go in there and cause some damage, and I think maybe even lose the first round. But as the fight goes on, get a little bit better because I think he'll have a little bit of nerves to shake off, and then Dayar will slow down. That's my guess. But yeah, I don't know too much about either of those. I am leaning towards Rafael Tobias from what I have seen, though. Then we have Suma Duerchi versus Jesus Aguilar. I'm going with Suma Duerchi. I think he's put up decent performances against certain names that I do know and that are not great, but have been decent. And he's looked good in a good couple of his fights. Jesus Aguilar, he looks decent in some of his fights, but I'm not too confident in him, especially over Suma Duerchi, who will have the size advantage going into this fight. I mean, almost a 10-inch reach advantage, apparently, and a 4-inch height advantage. I think just Suma Duerchi is more experienced, is a little bit better, and I think he will beat Jesus Aguilar. I don't know if it'll be by finish, but if it is, I'm guessing first or early second. Well, but I am leaning more and more towards a decision that is probably a 29-28 to Suma Duerchi. Then early prelims are done, and we move up to Cody Durden versus Niam Jargal Tumendembrel. I butchered that completely. Cody Durden, though, I think he is pretty much just done. He is not really a good UFC fighter. He has performances against people where he makes it look a little difficult, but I think he is just not got that build or that drive in him to win really as much anymore. And so I'm going to go with two men dem barrel to win this fight. From Mongolia, I'm picking him to win this fight. I don't know much about him. I don't remember too much of him. But I know I have seen him fight before. Cody Durden, though, I feel like he's there to cause people some problems and then lose a fight. And I feel like that's just his role in the UFC. So I feel like that's going to happen in this fight. Um, and yeah, so I'm going with Naiman uh, Jargal, and yeah, I think he's going to beat Cody Durden. But I could have obviously be very wrong. Cody Durden has a lot of experience and could just, y'all must have forgot, win this one. Then we have Ricky Tercios versus Alberto Montez. I'm going with Alberto Montez. From what I have seen of him, he looks pretty dangerous. He is not one of those guys coming off the Contender Series that's got 3 fights and all of them have been against cans. He wins his 4th one on the Contender Series and then gets put against unbeatable competition. I think Ricky Tercios is decent enough and is a difficult fight in some aspects. And I think this will be somewhat competitive if Albert Montez doesn't finish it quick. I feel like he might, though. He seems just very dangerous, and I feel like he's going to go out there and get a finish. And I think Tercios, I think it's been quite a bit since he's fought. Maybe I'm forgetting when he had, but I think it was early last year. So it's almost been a year. He's been out for a little bit. Montez is coming into the UFC. He's got some motivation. So, and won on the Contender Series. So I'm going with Alberto Montez to win this fight by probably a early finish in the first round or early in the second round. I'm leaning more towards a submission for some reason with this fight too. But obviously could just be a TKO. And yeah, so I'm leaning towards Alberto Montez to cause some damage to Ricky Tercios and yeah, build as the fight gets on to the point where I think he finishes it somewhat early. Speaking of finishing it early, I'm going to pick Dante Johnson to beat Cody Brundage. Usually I do a little bit more build up in the fights when I'm talking about him, but Dante Johnson, I think, will wrecking ball through Cody Brundage. Unless Cody Brundage is able to just go crazy and change the way he is, I think Dante Johnson, I think he's finished almost everybody early except for maybe his most recent fight. Maybe he finished that one really early too, but he's dangerous. I think he's going to go out there, go right at Cody Brundage, try and cause all the damage he can, and I think he will cause a lot, get to Cody Brundage, and finish him in the first round, maybe second, because I think Cody is pretty durable. And this will be a good win for Dante Johnson to test against somebody that's not a veteran, but more experienced and is around, fought different styles, different people. So yeah, I'm going with Dante Johnson by a late first round finish, early second round finish. Yeah, I think he's just gonna wrecking ball through Cody Brundage. Then we have Cody Garbrandt versus Zhao Long. I'm struggling with this one because I am delusional and I am leaning towards Cody Garbrandt. Cody, I believe, is coming off of the loss to Raoni Barcelos. Zhang Lao has fought some other Asian fighters, and from what I remember seeing from him, he is decent enough, but not the most spectacular. He has quite a few fights. He has 37 total fights, 27 wins, 10 losses. But I think I am leaning towards Cody Garbrandt. I think there were aspects of the Raoni Barcelos fight that were close, just not in the key moments, and Cody obviously very well lost it. But I think that Cody was in moments having success very selectively, and I'm hoping he can do that against Zhao Long. And so I'm going to delusionally pick Cody Garbrandt. If this comes back to bite me and I get this one wrong on top of a bunch of other ones I get wrong, I will be really upset, but I am going to be delusional, and I'm going to pick Cody Garbrandt to win this fight against Zhao Long, probably by a decision that is very, very close, maybe even borderline robbery, but I think it will be a close decision for Cody Garbrandt over Zhao Long to end off the prelims. Then we move up to Gregory Rodriguez, RoboCop versus Bruno Ferreira 2. This is going to be an awesome fight, I think. Two big guys slinging shots as much as they can. The first fight was on short notice. Bruno Ferreira was the one who stepped up in the first fight and knocked out RoboCop. And now RoboCop stepping up on short notice to fight Bruno and filling in for Paulo Costa. I think Gregory Rodriguez is a a lot bigger of a difference to train for than Paulo Costa. But Bruno Ferreira could win this. RoboCop could win this. This fight is going to be an awesome one. They're just going to just throw everything at each other. And I am leaning towards RoboCop. I think Bruno Ferreira has gotten better since the first fight, but I think also RoboCop has had to learn since the first fight. Especially after the Jared Cannonier fight, where I think, didn't he lose against Jared Cannonier? And um, did he lose to Jared Cannonier? Let me see. Yes. So RoboCop lost to uh Jared Cannonier, and I think since that fight, RoboCop has had to get a lot better at fighting, and he has learned a little bit more about how to control himself. He did that massive knockout to Jack Hermanson, that in retrospect does not look as good anymore either, because Muktabek Orablai knocked him out just a little bit less as brutal. But yeah, I think RoboCop will win this fight. I think, yes, he's taking on short notice, but I think he will be able to. For some reason, I've got something in my mind that knees to the body are going to work pretty decent in this fight. Some knees and some heavy kicks. But obviously, this fight, I think it's going to be a banger no matter how it goes. I think it's going to be a finish no matter how it goes. And I'm leaning towards a first round finish either way. But I'm just a little bit more confident in RoboCop, having dealt with the loss to Jared Cannonier and learned from that performance. And I think, yeah, Jared Cannonier proved a lot that RoboCop can be beaten. So did Bruno Ferreira, but I think RoboCop now is learned a lot and is growing in between fights, and I think he will beat Bruno Ferreira in their rematch by a first round knockout. And I think it's a first round knockout either way it goes. I would not be angry with either person winning. Then we move up to Wow. Okay. Then we move up to Drew Dober versus Michael Johnson. I'm way too late in the video to restart now. Drew Dober, Michael Johnson. This fight, I did not remember this fight getting made. I don't know where I was when this got made, but I am excited for this fight. Drew Dober's coming off of the win from UFC Canada, the DeRitter Allen card, I believe, where there was some controversy in it, and I think it was some legal shots, but Drew Dober coming off of that win, Michael Johnson coming off of the win at UFC 318, over Daniel Zellhuber, hasn't aged great of a win, but yeah, I think Michael Johnson and Drew Dober, this is going to be a fun fight between two guys who have lots of experience, both in that lightweight, like unranked area, that have just, yeah, they've had a lot of chances to win, lose, and they've both done it plenty. Their records are pretty close. But I don't know who I'm going to root for. I think there is the mythical fighter of Drew Dober fighting Michael Johnson, because we all know what Drew Dober does when he's fighting Michael Johnson and other people like Michael Johnson. It's a meme for a reason, but that's not the way I'm gonna pick it. I think this fight is gonna be a close fight, and I think it's gonna be a fun fight. And I think they're both gonna bring. I think Drew Dober's gonna make Michael Johnson bring it, but I think Michael Johnson gets it done. I think he beats Drew Dober. Drew Dober's just taking a lot of damage, and I think his performance in his last fight was good, but it was not as great as it could have been. And it was against lesser competition than Michael Johnson. So I'm going to go with Michael Johnson to win this fight by decision. At the end of round 3, I think that Drew Dober will start out really hot in the first round. Michael Johnson will come back in towards the end of the first round, land a couple good shots, keep the round close. But I think Michael Johnson takes away round 2, wins it, and then wins the third round. But Drew Dober comes back at the end of the round and lands some decent shots that makes people think, oh, this could have been for Drew Dober, it could have been for Michael Johnson. It's a very close fight. But I'm going with Michael Johnson to win this fight over the course of 3 rounds. Now we move up to the feature fight. Now we move up to the feature fight of the night. Rob Font versus Raul Rosas Jr. Now this fight's been almost made like 3 times. 2 or 3 times. And Raul Rosas Jr. has had to pull out. And I think Rob Font pulled out of one of them. they've been trying to make this because it's a winnable fight for Raul Rosas Jr. And Rob Font, I think I would normally pick Rob Font to win a fight like this. I think Rob Font could easily win a fight like this. But I don't want to bet on one of the New England Cartel guys. After their performances last weekend, and with Calvin Kattar and Rob Font in his last fight, Rosas has been looking better. I'm gonna pick Raul Rosas Jr. to win this fight. I think he's gonna win this fight by a submission in the second round. Because I think he's gonna implement his grappling really a lot in the first round, and then in the second round, he's going to get more success after having tired out Rob Font, get to the back, and rear naked choke Rob Font. Or I could even see an armbar. Weirdly, when this fight got announced, that's the one I had pictured in my mind was an armbar by Raul Rosas Jr., but I think it's going to be more likely in a rear naked choke after Rob Font's a little tired in the second or even third round of this matchup. And yeah, I'm picking Raul Rosas Jr. to just implement his grappling a lot and tire out Rob Font and get to the back eventually, submit him later on in the fight. I don't think it'll be a finish in the first round. I think Rob Font will look good in the first round, but will get tired by the second or third after the grappling Raul Rosas Jr. puts on and will wear on Rob Font throughout the course of the fight. Then we move to the co-main event of the evening, Caio Borralho versus Reinier de Ridder. Now, this fight is... I still haven't picked it. As of right now, making this video, I have not made a pick. In my head, this fight, my brain is telling me Caio Borralho. The fighting nerds, if I want to be smart, I know I should pick Caio Borralho. He looked pretty decent against Imavov. Clearly lost that fight, but held his own in much of that fight. Just got outclassed on the feet by Imavov. But then there's Reinier de Ridder, who I think performed better against the people he's performed. I think Reinier de Ridder performed very well against Robert Whittaker and obviously very well against Bo Nickel in the first round against Brendan Allen. But then Brendan Allen made him quit, made him give up. And I think part of that is from the being so active that his body was done. And I think Caio Borralho is now going to fight a Reinier de Ridder who is a little bit more prepared, a little less so out of it. But this is a 3-round fight, most likely. So then that helps Caio because he can cause more damage. But then that helps Reinier de Ridder because he doesn't have to use as much gas. See, I think Caio Borralho beats Brendan Allen. But for some reason, I feel like Reinier de Ridder beats Caio Borralho. And I don't know if I think it might just be the knees that are really sticking in my mind. That I think Reinier de Ridder is going to throw tons of knees in this fight against Caio Borralho, and I think they'll work pretty good. And I think the striking, keeping it long, whatever he's got to do. You know what? I'm just going to stick with it, stick with my gut, and I'm going to go with Reinier de Ridder to win this fight. Over the course of the fight, I think he's just going to use knees to... You know what? Nope. I'm going with Caio Borralho. Official pick, Caio Borralho to win this fight. I'm not changing it anymore. If I'm wrong about this, I'm going to be furious. But I'm going with Caio Borralho to win. I think he's going to cause more damage in the fight. I think some of the damage that Reinier de Ridder will land will not be as appreciated by the judges. And I think Caio will land some more obvious damage. Keep it smart. I think he's probably watched a lot of film on Reinier de Ridder. And I think he's going to try and gas him out. And I think Caio Borralho wins this fight by a decision. The judges don't appreciate some of the body shots and knees and stuff. And I think Caio Borralho will land much more to the face than Reinier de Ridder. And I think he won't look as sloppy as Reinier de Ridder will in this 3-round co-main event. So yeah, Caio Borralho, official pick. I can't change it. I know I'm going to be furious about that if I get it wrong. But now we get to the main event of the evening. Max Blessed Holloway versus Charles do Bronx Oliveira. Go back. Don't know why it went to Oliveira. Yeah. We get to the main event of the evening. Max Holloway versus Charles do Bronx Oliveira. Yeah, this fight is obviously going to be amazing. There's nothing else I can say about this fight other than this could be fight of the year. This is honestly right now, I don't know if there's a fight that you could make that would, before it happens, me be more sure it could be fight of the year. This fight is got all the potential to be one of the best fights of all time, and I really, really hope it is. Max Holloway, obviously, we know all about him. We know all about Charles. Charles is my favorite fighter, and Max is one of my other favorite fighters, probably my second or third. And I love both of these guys. You can't not love both of them. It's the cliche, but they're your favorite fighter's favorite fighter for a reason. And yeah, I've got to lean towards Max logically. My heart leans towards Charles Oliveira to his chin be good for this fight, and he uses his grappling decently, but I think that Max will do so good on the feet. And honestly, there's a part of me that wants to just put it out in the universe and pick this as a draw. Pick this as a draw. Um, and say that nope, this is going to be a draw. Nobody gets a finish. No, it's a draw. They neither of them win, and it's great for the entire world. And we get a great fight, and we get a draw, so we don't have to see either lose. But to be honest, I want to go with Max Holloway. I think his takedown defense is so good. I think his striking is amazing. I think Oliveira can do what he did to Gamrot because Gamrot will initiate the grappling with him. I don't know if he can do that to Holloway because Holloway will not want to initiate the grappling. And I think Holloway at 155 obviously has looked great. He knocked out Gaethje. He practically dog walked Poirier for his retirement fight. I saw that live. The energy in that building, you could feel it being sapped away when Holloway was winning, because the Louisiana crowd loved him so much. And when he got dropped, they loved when he got dropped. When he dropped Poirier, I felt the air sucked out of that building. And Holloway was impeccable that night. Obviously, he lost to Ilya down at 145, but 55, he looks great. He looked great against Gaethje. He looked great against Poirier, and I think he'll look great against Charles. The only thing, though, that I can say is that Gaethje dropped Holloway. Ilya dropped Holloway, obviously. Poirier dropped Holloway. Will Charles drop Holloway? And if Charles drops him, I think Charles finishes Holloway. That's what I'm going to say. I think if Charles drops Holloway at all in this fight, or really hurts Holloway, I think that Charles wins this fight. I think his hunting instincts are good enough. His finishing instincts are impeccable. And I think Oliveira finishes this fight if he hurts Holloway at all, which Holloway's been getting dropped in his last 3 fights, each of them. He's gotten dropped. And before the Gaethje fight, he had never been dropped before. Now it's 3 in a row. I have a feeling that Oliveira could do it, but I want to lean towards Holloway to win this fight. I did not make a pick for this fight either because I was so nervous for it. I want to say a draw. I just want to say a draw and put it out there and do a draw. But if I'm going to lean towards one specifically, I'm going to go with Max Holloway to win this fight. I just think his takedown defense is better. I think his striking is, or not better than, his takedown defense is not better than Oliveira, but I think it's good enough. It's better than Gamrot's because Gamrot wanted to grapple. I think Holloway is just going to be able to keep it on the feet enough and cause enough damage. And I think Charles's chin is somewhat gone. That I don't, if Gamrot's landing those shots on Charles, then I think Holloway's going to land worse ones. So I'm going to go with Max Holloway to beat Charles Oliveira, and I think it's probably going to be by a finish. Even though I hope not, I hope it gets the last 10 seconds of the fight, and they both point to the center. They both sling it out, and we get an incredible, beautiful moment. I hope this fight goes to decision. I hope this fight goes to the last 10 seconds. I do not want this to be a finish in the second round. I want as much of this fight as possible. I want the full 25 minutes, 24 minutes and 50 seconds, 24 minutes, 59 seconds of this fight. I want every second that I can get possible of this fight. But I think Max Holloway wins. Obviously, I would love if Oliveira wins, but I would also love it for Holloway if he wins. I'm so excited for this matchup. I want to draw. Draw is my best case scenario where it's a bloody war. The octagon is blood red from it, and I hope that this is a draw. But I'm going with Max Holloway to win this fight by hopefully a decision, but I could see a round 3 stoppage. I just hope this fight is as fun as physically possible. And yeah, Max Holloway, Charles Oliveira. Obviously, cannot wait. This fight is amazing. Everybody knows it. Everybody's expecting it to be. And I hope this is fight of the year at the end of the year. Um, and yeah, for the BMF belt, do we get the first non-English speaking and Charles Oliveira and new BMF world champion, or Holloway to defend it 2 times? Um, and yeah, that's it. Max Holloway, Charles Oliveira 2. Cannot wait. Let me know what you guys think of these fights. Cannot wait to see who wraps the belt around the winner of these guys. I just made a video about that a little day or two ago. Um, cannot wait for this event. I'm ecstatic every single day, just waiting for it at the end of the week. And yeah, this fight, I know one of them's got to lose, but one of them's gonna win, and I'm confident it'll be one of the best fights I've ever seen. I'm putting that all my energy into this being one of the best fights ever. And yeah, Max Holloway, Charles Oliveira 2. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, follow, share. Send this to people that you like talking about UFC with, and like it. Whatever you've got to do. Follow me on TikTok, Devin MMA, and yeah, have a great evening, morning, night, um, whatever. And yeah, thank you for watching. Goodbye.